Information moved at the speed of a sailing ship, but it was a matter of survival. For an 18th century colonist, a delayed dispatch from across the Atlantic provided the intelligence needed to navigate global threats. This is the American Weekly Mercury, issue number 78, published in Philadelphia on June 15, 1721. Within these 3 columns, the Mercury documents a series of simultaneous crises affecting the Crown's interests across 3 continents. The dispatches report on escalating military maneuvers in Eastern Europe, a catastrophic financial collapse in London, and the enforcement of imperial penal law. We are going to decode this document as a merchant or magistrate would have in 1721, a high-stakes intelligence briefing that dictated colonial operations. The Mercury shows the British administration balancing military defense in the East against financial instability at home and the logistical demands of a growing penal system. The date on this dispatch is London, February 25th, a 4-month delay to reach American shores. The primary continental threat comes from the East. The Russian Tsar is mobilizing his military, advancing into Livonia and Courland under the guise of a royal tour. The dispatch reports the scale of the maneuver. 40,000 cavalry troops have been ordered to break into Pomerania. While diplomats from Sweden and Muscovy meet to negotiate peace, public observers remain skeptical. They report that these plenipotentiaries are insincere, merely buying time for military positioning. Moving southward, the Ottomans are threatening a different European border. The Turks are hovering near Poland. The Polish military is undertaking vigorous preparations to counter a move against their borders. While Eastern Europe braces for conflict, the Mediterranean theater is cooling down. The March 11th column confirms that the war is at an end in Africa. Spanish troops are withdrawing home. Only a garrison remains in the coastal city of Ceuta, left behind to repair military losses sustained during the campaign. For American colonists, this Mediterranean update was vital. The end of a conflict involving Spain affected the safety of Atlantic shipping lanes from privateers and naval blockades. The 1721 geopolitical map was volatile. Rival empires were testing each other's borders, forcing the British state and its colonies to maintain a war footing. To maintain that war footing, an empire requires capital. For the colonists reading this paper, London's political news was their economic reality. On the back page, a dispatch from June 12th carries financial updates from London. Top government officials, including John Aislabie and Sir George Caswell, have been committed to the Tower of London for their roles in the South Sea stock disaster. The South Sea bubble was a financial collapse. Unchecked corporate speculation in the South Sea Company inflated stock prices before bursting, wiping out wealth. The public identified the specific figures responsible. Corporate directors and complicit politicians were mocked as riding a destructive merry-go-round, gambling with the nation's treasury. Parliament reacted to this instability by implementing protectionist trade policies to prop up domestic industries. The dispatch notes the passage of an act prohibiting the wearing of calicos. This was a direct ban on imported cotton textiles, designed to shield domestic British wool and silk weavers from foreign competition. Calico was a high-volume import. These vibrant floral prints dominated the fashion market, leading traditional English textile guilds to pressure the government for relief. This fashion law dictated colonial supply chains. American merchants were now legally restricted in what they could import and sell, absorbing the costs of London's economic panic. To salvage an economy weakened by speculation, the British state deployed strict legal mandates, attempting to legislate a recovery for its domestic industries. Economic instability is often followed by social regulation. As the economy struggled, the Crown managed a surge in documented crime. The dispatch from the Old Bailey outlines the scale of state-sanctioned violence. In a single session, 17 people received the sentence of death. These 17 individuals were executed for returning after transportation, meaning they traveled back to England after being exiled to the colonies. Public executions at the Old Bailey functioned as a visual deterrent for those who violated transportation mandates. For those who escaped the gallows, a different system awaited. A brief notice from Suffolk mentions criminals brought up under guard. They were handed over to Mr. Forward, a Virginia merchant. The empire used private merchants to remove convicted citizens. Under the Transportation Act, convicted individuals were converted into a forced labor commodity. They were shipped across the Atlantic and sold into servitude to build colonial infrastructure in Virginia and Maryland. The American colonies occupied a dual role in the imperial structure. They were an essential economic engine for British wealth and a destination for its internal social pressures. Examining the Mercury in its entirety reveals the structure of the 18th century Atlantic world. These three desks, foreign wars, finance, and law, were interconnected components of a single imperial machine. The document records the fiscal strain of continental defense alongside the fallout of the South Sea collapse and the movement of convicts to the colonies. In 1721, a Philadelphia merchant parsed these columns to identify shifts in trade policy and the risks facing his fleet. The specific empires and corporations have changed, but the underlying mechanisms remain.
The Daily Dispatch, history in print.